Welcome to Live DAF, your online DAF Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's DAF Yomi, which is Yevamos DAF Kuf Gimel. We are holding on Kuf Beis Amud Beis 3 lines from the bottom. Tanya Kavasei the Rava. In fact, we have a brisa to support the Rava. Back to Chalitza. So Rava tells us that although ideally we're meant to use a sandal, this type of hard leather sandal, but you can also use something soft, as the Mishnah spoke about, using a minnow, something akin to a shoe. Today's shoe, which features a softer leather which hugs the foot, or even anpilya, some sort of a flimsy foot covering, like a slipper, as long as it's made of leather. There are two types of anpilyas. There's the cloth anpilya, which can be worn on Yom Kippur, which is not considered a shoe, not really a protector, and is not kosher for chalitza. Or you have the anpilya, which is made of leather, which serves as a protective agent and can be used for chalitza. We will have a riot to Rava that in fact there are two types of anpilya. One is made of cloth, non-shoe. One is made of leather, yes, shoe. Chalza b'mino hanifram. Suppose she used this shoe. She did chalitza with a shoe whose threading came apart, but it's still functional. Shechayfes revaregel, covers most of the foot. Or besandal hanifchas, a sandal with that thicker, firmer leather material which broke off, which broke apart, and it's missing a portion, but it's still functioning. Shemakabel is revaregel, it can still cover most of the foot. Besandal shel sham, different type of shoe made of some type of woody material, which is still protecting. Vishal siv, another type of material which can still protect. Bekavakiteya, an amputee's shoe made of wood. B'maik, a shoe made of felt. Besmichas raglayim. So Rashi explains, this fellow, Loyalenu, he walks on his hands, his feet are non-functional, and he has some sort of foot covering to protect his feet. B'anpilya shel oir. Oh, here we go. The anpilya made of leather. That's also kosher for chalitza. V'achaletis bin hagadol. Now, if she does chalitza with an adult yavam, it doesn't matter how they're standing. Ben oimed, whether he's standing, ben yeshiv or sitting, ben muta or lying. V'achaletis bin hasuma. Or this fellow, this yavam, is blind. Taisa says, I would think perhaps he needs to have proper vision, just as the dayanim need to have vision, as we learned the other day. So no, it's not mi'akiv, it's not crucial when it comes to the yavam. Chalitzosa k'sheira, it's considered a proper chalitza. Aval but if it's not a proper shoe, not a proper foot covering, but min al hanifram, this shoe came apart, she'ein chayfes roiv haregel. So stitching came apart to the point that it no longer covers most of the foot. Bisandal hanifchas, sheidim mekabel esrev regel. The sandal is missing a portion and likewise is not functioning properly. Ubesmichas hayodayim. Or she uses this hand support that this fellow uses, some sort of crutches. That's not considered a shoe. Uban pilya shel beged. Oh, here we go. A slipper made of cloth material, that doesn't work. Clearly, there's a difference between the anpilya shel oir, which constitutes shoe, unlike the anpilya shel beged, which is merely a slipper which does not have a din of a shoe. Or v'chaletzes min hakatan. The Yevamos did chalitza with a katan. In all these cases, chalitzos psula, it's null and void. Oh, here we go. We have a right to Rava. There is the anpilya shel beged, which is not a nal, it's not a sandal, it's not a shoe. Anpilya shel oir, made of leather, is. Okay, once we're at it, let's analyze this price. We're going to have a kasha. So in the beginning we had a list of qualified shoes, acceptable foot coverings. Amongst them we have the kavhakiteya, an amputee's wooden shoe. Who's speaking? Who holds that even a wooden shoe is considered? Kavhakiteya mani, who is this? Rabbi Meir. Apparently this is Rabbi Meir. It's not. Hakiteya yetze b'kaf shalai. David Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir says on Shabbos, this fellow can walk out with his wooden foot covering, even though it's a wooden clog. Fact is, it protects. It's considered a shoe, even though it's not made of leather. You see, we had a pasuk yesterday. Ve'en olcha tachash. You wore a tachash, animal leather, foot coverings. There are two ways to learn the pasuk. What constitutes shoe? According to Rabbi Meir, any protector, anything made of firm material that can protect, that can be megan, including wood. Rabbi Yossi Oyser, he says no. He shouldn't be walking outside with a wooden clog on Shabbos. It's not considered a shoe, because according to him, Ven olcha tachash, dafka leather. Leather has that unique quality, a double quality. It's soft and pliable and comfortable and protects. Otherwise, it's not considered a proper shoe, a halachically acceptable shoe. So when the Brisa says even a wooden clog, the amputee's clog is considered, that's Rabbi Meir. It's hard, it protects. The Brisa continues in the next section, Pan pilya shel beged, a cloth slipper, that doesn't work. Who's speaking here? Because it's not leather, it's not a shoe. Ason the Rabbanon. This sounds like Rabbanon speaking. 1 second. Is it Rabbi Meir or is the Brisa Rabbanon? Rabbi, with the Sefer Rabbanon. Reshinam Rabbanon. The last part is the Rabbanon. Let's assume the first part of the Brisa is the Rabbanon as well. How could we use the wooden clog of the amputee? It's wood. V'reisha. That story is speaking b'mechupa or. It's coated with leather. So although in its core it's wood, but it has that leather appearance, which provides comfort and acts like a leather shoe. And that's why it's considered halachically acceptable for chalitza. Amalei Rava, responds Rava. So what do you mean to say? That coating, that leather coating, gives it a din of a shoe? Aval ein mechupa or. Suppose it would not be covered with leather. What would be the din pasul? It wouldn't be qualified. If that were the case, adatani sefer. So instead of going on and proceeding with the case of ban pilya shel beged, cloth slipper, as an example of something unacceptable, instead of going to there and shifting to cloth, stick with the amputee's clog and find a distinction within itself. Coated leather or not coated with leather. Right? According to you, the leather coating is what makes it. So let's find the distinction within the wooden clog. When is it acceptable for chalitza? When it has that leather feature. Or possible, otherwise it's possible. So why shift to the ampilya? Just stick to the amputee's clog. Therefore says Rav, I'll give you an alternate pshat to the Brisa. The fact that the Mishnah begins with Rabbi Meir, the amputee's clog is acceptable. Let's assume Seifanami Rabbi Meir, that the next part of the Brisa as well is following in Shitas Rabbi Meir. Question: why is an ampilya shel beged unacceptable? Very pashut. It's not protective. Megan, a wooden clog protects, so it has that protective feature of a shoe, which is sufficient to deem it a shoe. Megan, as opposed to a ampilya shel beged, just a flimsy cloth material type of slipper. That's not a protector and does not constitute shoe. Amra Meimar, how exactly is chalitza performed? Haiman de chalitz, the yavam who's involved in chalitza, tzorich lemidchasei, he has to stomp lekara his foot. He has to stand on the floor and stomp his foot downward. Some Mefarshim say this is perhaps a lochel meshim Sinai, connected with the Neshama of the departed fellow who is sort of grounded in this world, and the point is to release him by releasing that foot, that shoe. In any case, that's the halacha. You have to stand firmly on the ground, your foot stomped on the floor. But the Brisa we had before perhaps indicates otherwise. Bein oimed, bein yoshev, bein muta, standing, sitting, lying. When you're lying, it's not necessarily compatible with stomping feet on the floor. Ema. Yeah, let's add to that Brisa. Sure, you could be standing in any direction, any position, but you must have that foot firmly affixed to the ground. Ve'amar Meimer. Here comes another halacha regarding chalitza. Haiman de maski alichsa de kari. This fellow, lo yaleinu, he walks on the back of his foot. So we have the leg, right, coming down, and then we have the foot, the flat part. And this fellow experienced some sort of injury, or for some other unnatural reason, his foot, the bottom flat part, is sort of flipped around. Okay? Haiman de maski, this fellow's walking, alichsa de kari, on the top of his foot. Lo yicholitz, he can't be involved in chalitza. That's not considered me'al ragle. It's not a properly functioning foot. What do you mean? Vatanya. What about that brisa, which allowed us to use the smeiches haraglayim, this fellow's foot supports, and we're speaking that a fellow who was not walking naturally, his feet are sort of bent sideways, and he has those foot supports. So apparently, even that type of disfiguration would not disqualify chalitza. Lav the chalitz, but you? Apparently, we're doing chalitza on this fellow. No, lo yidiyav leila acher v'chalitz. This fellow himself is not involved. We're speaking about an ordinary, healthy person, just simply using this fellow's supports in lieu of a shoe, and that's okay. Amar Rav Ashi, l'maydika Amar Meimar. According to Meimar's halacha, that if his foot is disfigured, it cannot be used for chalitza. Lav bar uva chalas. There's a fellow called bar uva. He can't be involved in chalitza. But lav bar kifaf chalas. Likewise, this fellow bar kifaf cannot be involved in a chalitza. So what's the story behind these fellows? The Gemara in Moed Katan of Chafei tells us about Rav Ashi, who got upset at these fellows. And these were professional maspidim, eulogizers. And one day he asked them, what do you have in mind for me? What's your show me your prepared obituary. So they told him a whole presentation which they had in mind, so to speak, when he would pass away. And he didn't like some of the elements within that hesped, and he got upset. And on account of that, their feet got flipped around. So since their feet are disfigured, they can't be involved in chalitza. Okay, getting back to the Mishnah. Min arkuva lamata. Suppose a person's foot is actually removed, and he has his shoe, wearing his, hugging his leg instead of his foot. The Mishnah says, well, it depends. If it's below the knee, that's okay. It's still called a regel. If it's above the knee, it's not considered regel and cannot be used for chalitza. We have a kasha from a brisa. A brisa in Zechus, Rosh Hashanah. Meseches Chagiga. It says Sholish Regalim, referring to the 3 Yomim Tovim when we travel up to Yerushalayim. We have a drasha. Regalim is lashon of raglayim. Who is involved on alila regel? A fellow who can walk, who can naturally walk. Prat lebali kabin, except for a fellow who's leaning on his crutches, on his foot supports. An amputee who does not have the feet. He's wearing some sort of foot substitute. Oh, so what do we see? That a leg on its own is not considered regel. And here we say, includes even the leg. Answers the Gemara, Shani Hacha, here it's different, Chsiv mei al ragloi. So mei al ragloi is a drasha that not only by removing shoe from the regel had we performed chalitza, but even removing shoe mei al ragloi from the leg which is above the foot. That's also acceptable. If that's the case, lamala nami. What about above the knee? Why isn't that considered me'al ragli? Oh, that's too far. It says me'al ragli, v'loy me'al, but this is 2 steps away from the foot, too far up. Amar papa shmami. We can deduce from this halacha, hai is tevira, at the ankle bone, ad aranuchis, goes down till the bottom, till the heel. It's not separate from the foot. Because if halachically it is considered a separate entity. So the ankle is above the foot. That's the mial, and then the leg is too far up. The leg is mial. The mial is already 2 steps removed. Apparently, halachically, we consider the ankle and the foot as one. It's one bone, and the leg which is above the ankle is considered above the foot. Amar Rav Ashi, afilu tema mifsa pasuk, even if the ankle is considered separate from the foot, still it would not raise any concerns. The leg would still be kosher for chalitza. Why? Called the bahadi kara, because the ankle, which is sort of in one swoop, in one layer, one level with the foot, kikara dam, is treated halachically as one and the same as the foot, even though technically it's perhaps two bones and does not actually go down to the floor, but it's one entity, in which case the leg above it is considered mei al ragli. But above the knee, that is no longer considered regel. Masar of Kana avakash ubeshol yosa. Hayetis ben arglea. The pasuk describes an isha giving birth. The shilya emanating ben arglea. Apparently, the makom of leida is considered raglayim. That's way above the Amra Abaye b'shoshe keras leilat, because when she kneels to give birth, ne'etzes ekiveh bi'archiseh v'yeledes. She positions herself in this way that she sort of folds her legs beneath her, heel reaching up to the thigh, and that's how she gives birth. So the newborn is actually being yotzei between the raglayim, which are sort of leaning back to that area. Tashma, have another kasha. Lo yasa raglav, lo yasa sefamai. Take a look at Rashi to the right. Lo yasa raglav, lo yheisir zeir zakan atachtem. Speaking about removing the zeir of the zaken beneath. That's the makom of the milah. So that's not the regal. That's way up. So why is it called raglav? Lishna ma'alya. True. We're just using appropriate language, clean language to describe that area, but technically it's not the regal. Tashma. Another kasha with the same teretz. He went to tend to his needs, covers regal, and regal is not in the area of the needs. Again, Lishna ma'alya, we're using clean language. Tashma, ach mesechu ragel, the same idea. V'cheda makir is involved in tending to his needs, and it's referred to as ragel. Why? Again, Lishna ma'alya, we're just using appropriate language. We have the story of Sisra, the Russia was escaping Klal Yisrael, and Yoel, the tzaddikas, brought him into her tent, and she allowed herself to be involved with him physically, bein ragleh, shachav, etc. Well, that's not below the knee. Why is it called raglaim? Again, the same teretz, lishna ma'alya. We're just using a euphemism. Rabbi Yechanan, once we're on this topic, we're meant to know that Sheva be'ilois baal oisei rasha b'oisayim. Sisra was involved with Yoel 7 times in a row, and the point was to weaken him, to make him susceptible, and to make him susceptible to the pursuers, the Klal Yisrael. They can actually subdue him. That was her kavana. She allowed herself to interact with a rasha, with a guy. In fact, the Gemara in Hirius considers this an avera shel lishma. Yoel, tzaddikas, was involved in an avera lishma. It was an avera with a guy lishma in order to save Klal Yisrael, to subdue the leader of the enemies and to save Klal Yisrael. How could she do that? By the way, how's it mutter? Typically, we don't justify the means. The end doesn't justify the means if the means are inappropriate. So the Chazon Ish says because she was trying to save Klal Yisrael. It's an entirely different realm. Saving Klal Yisrael can even be done at the expense of an individual who's doing an avera. We find Esther Amalka did the same thing. Okay, very unique exception, not to be applied. Typically, it's a very unique situation to save Klal Yisrael. In fact, we had a similar Gemara. You may recall we had a Gemara in Tainus. Yom Turainus, the Gemara says there was a whole story there that the king was threatening Klal Yisrael because they found a princess who was killed, and two brothers, stepped forward and they admitted, they pretended to have been the perpetrators, and he took them and killed them, and they did it to save Klal Yisrael. The same question: how can a person sacrifice himself to save somebody else? Typically, that's not allowed. The Chazon Ish gives the same explanation there because Klal Yisrael is an entirely different realm, and in this case, it's mutter to save the yachid for the Rabbi. If he himself volunteers, we can't hand him over. But if a person himself steps forward, I'm going to sacrifice myself, moise nefesh for Klal Yisrael. Okay, so once we're on this topic, Says Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yochanan, Sheva be'ilois ba'al oisei rasha b'oisei. He's involved 7 times in a row. Shenemar bein raglea kara. Because you see in this pasuk, we find the lashon of involvement mentioned 7 times. Bein raglea kara, it's 1. Nafal is 2. Shacha bein raglea kara is 4. Nafal 5. Asher kara 6. Sham nafal shadu, that's 7. Now the Gemara praises her, praises Yael. The Gemara in Harius and in Nazir as well, that she's praiseworthy because of her heroic act. Why? The fact that she was has some inevitable. Even a victim has some sort of element, component of anah from this avera. How can she do that? Rabbi Yochanan. So why is she praised? Rabbi Yochanan, Mishum Rab Shimon Bar Yochai. No. There's no hanah at all. Called Teivasan Shal Rishayim. Any teiva provided by Rasha, Rai, Ital Tzadikim Tzadik. It disgusts him. Rashi says on top, Roy, Shesoinim Tzadikim, V'kotza. It's disgusting. V'kotza nefesh tzadik bana osan hilkach lavanai. It's not even considered anah at all. The tzadik hates it, and therefore there's no concern. Shenemar, we find a similar concept in the Chumash. Hashem tells Lavan when he was camping, the night before he met Yaakov, he says, "Be careful. Be careful. Keep away from Yaakov. Don't discuss anything with him. Not good or not bad." Now, I understand why. Don't harm him. Don't threaten him. I understand why Hashem warns him against, threatening him. That's understood. But to have a good word with him. What's wrong with that? We hear from this that Teivasan shel Rishayim, even the Teiva offered by Rasha, Rahi Eitzal HaTzadikim want no part in it. Like they say in Yiddish, Meichel Teivas. Asks the Gemara. Okay, by love and I understand. Bishlai Mahasam, Dilma Matkir Leishma Davedis Gecham. By love and keep away. I don't want you getting involved with me. You'll start talking about Yavai Dezarim. The further apart, the better. Elohacha Mai Ra'ika. But by Yoel with Sisra, what was the Ra'ah that she would be experiencing by being involved with him? Answers the Gemara, with a guy. Because Shadi ba Zuama. By being physically involved with a guy, he inserts Zuama, impurity. He taints her. Damar B'Yechanan, Mishah Shabal Nachash al Chava. We know that Nachash HaKatman, it's a horror way back in the time of Adam and Chava, when he was involved with them and he actually lived as married with Chava, as the Chazal tell us. Ital ba Zuama. He imparted a Zuama. He embedded an impurity into Chava. Now, Yisrael Sha'amdu al Har Sinai, when Kol Yisrael as a nation stood before Hashem on Har Sinai, at that moment we were purified completely. Pasko Zuamasan, their Zuama was totally drained from them. They were purified. As opposed to the Goyim who were not there, Lloyd Pasko Zuamasan, they retained the Zuama, and that is the Ra that the guy hands over, transmits to the Yisrael when they are involved together. Mishnah says, you want to use your own shoe, but if it doesn't belong to the Yavam, it's still acceptable. Which sounds like it has to be his. Only if it's his. What about it belongs to somebody else? Terry repeats, now, even if it doesn't belong to him, it works. So why then does the pasuk even mention na'aloi? The answer is na'aloi haro'iloi. To tell you that the na'al has to be something that fits him. Prat legadol, as opposed to an oversized shoe she'ein yochel halach by, which you can't walk with, or uprat lekatan, an undersized shoe she'ein chayfei ragla, which doesn't protect most of his foot. Uprat lesandal hamislayim, and also to accept this sandal which is missing part of its sole, part of its heel, she'ein le'ekev, doesn't have a proper heel. So using somebody else's shoe is not lechatchila, but okay b'diavad. Abaye have a koi kamed Rav Yosef. Abaye was standing before Rav Yosef. Asoy Yevamos lachlitz. Yevamos shows up to Rav Yosef for chalitz. Armalei, so Rav Yosef tells Abaye, Havle sandalach. Could you please hand your sandal over to the Yavam? So what Abaye do? Aryai wasn't happy with the fact that Rabbi Yosef was allowing the Yavam to use a sandal which didn't belong to him. It's not l'chatchila. So in protest, Yarvle sandola de smali. So Aryai handed the Yavam his left sandal to show that, look, this is not really l'chatchila. Amarle, so Rav Yosef turns to Aryai. Why are you giving him the left one? Amor, the Amor, Rabbanon, the Evet. Sure, the Rabbanon allowed the left one, but the Evet, l'chatchila mi Amor. Why l'chatchila? It's not l'chatchila. You should have given him your right shoe. Amarle, so Aryai responds, well, that was exactly my point. You got the message. Yachi sandal shein shaloi nami. Likewise, when it comes to a sandal that you don't own, yeah, of course it's fine with the Evet. They didn't allow l'chatchila. Why are you allowing it l'chatchila? So says, let me explain. I meant as follows: Havle, give it to him, give it to him as a gift. Gift it to him, make it his, for the time being. If you give it to him b'matana, certainly it's l'chatchila. Sandal shalates, the Mishnah says, a sandal shalates is acceptable. Who is speaking? Man Tana, who's this author? Who's the man to Amar? Amar Shmuel Rav Meir. Apparently this is Rav Meir who says you don't need leather, as long as it has that protective element. This nana kitei yotze b'kav shalai de Rav Meir. On Shabbos, an amputee could walk out with his wooden clog. It's considered a shoe. It's not considered carrying. It's considered his garment. Rabbi Yossi says, no. It's not leather, it's not a shoe. It's just a load. Our Mishnah, which allows a wooden clog for chalitza, is Rav Meir, and not Rabbi Yossi. Avod is Shmuel Omer, but Shmuel's father, this was Shmuel, but Shmuel's father disagrees. He says, no. We can reconcile this halacha according to Rabbi Yossi as well. How? B'mechupar was speaking about a wooden shoe which is leather coated. V'divrei hakol, in which case everybody agrees it's mutter. Amar Rapapi Mishmei Rav. Rapapi quotes Rav as follows: Sandal hamuzkar. Let's say you have a sandal which features a nega. It's been sent into quarantine, awaiting its verdict. We should not use it for chalitza. We'll see why. But if it was used, it works. Chalitza ksheira, it's kosher. However, sandal hamuchlat, a sandal which has been made tummy, it's been labeled as tummy. It's been determined to be a nega which is tummy, and the sandal is going to be burnt. If it's going to be burnt, then it's lacking its shear. Remember, for chalitza we need a shoe which covers most of the foot. It has to have a shear chashav. It has to be an entity with chashivas, with prominence. But if it's going to be burnt, such as this sandal hamuchlat, it's oimid l'streifa, it's slated for burning. We treat it as though it's just chopped into pieces. It no longer qualifies. It no longer has that functionality of a sandal. It doesn't. Let's put it this way: all elements of that sandal don't combine together and join as one entity, which has this. Which is considered a properly functioning entity. Right? So sandal hamuchlat, lo yisachlo tzbo, it can't be used, and even b'di'evet, v'imcholza, chalatzasa psul. And that's why, even the sandal hamuskar, which is only locked away, awaiting pending verdict, it shouldn't be used because you may go ahead and use the other one as well, the muchlat, which is possible. That's Rav Papi's version of Rava's shita. And Rashi explains, because if something is slated for streifa, it's going to be burnt and destroyed. Ketute mechsa shiure, the shear has been chopped up and crumbled up and broken to little shreds and smithereens. It no longer serves as one. It's not meant to serve in this capacity. It doesn't join together and present as a prominent and functioning entity. It doesn't have the shear that we need. So although practically you can wear it, but it's like you're wearing a bunch of pieces of leather. They're not meant to serve together in this function, this capacity. They're meant to be burnt and destroyed. So that's a chiddush. Who's speaking this chiddush? Rav Papa. Rav Papa, however, Mishmei Rabbi, he has a different approach. He says, no. Echad, Amar Echad, sandal hamuskar, Echad sandal hamuchlat, whether it's this type of sandal or that type, You shouldn't use it. Why? Because you might end up using the one of the avodah zarah, which is certainly a problem. So it's only the chatchila, this on account of that. But if they did it, it works. So he disagrees. He says even if it's meant for sreifa, it's going to be burnt. The fact is, we find in the psukim that even an item that's going to be burnt, I think that has a nega, which is meant for sreifa, is still considered a functioning entity. It still has a din of a beged. In this case, it has a din of a shoe, and you have a proper shoe with a proper shiur. Meisve, here comes a kasha on a puppy. That something slated for sreifa cannot serve as a functioning entity. Meisve, bayis hamuskar. You have a house which is in quarantine. You found a nega, and you're waiting to see, how it's going to develop. If one touches the interior of that home, he becomes tamei. Muchlat. If the verdict has been issued, this house has been considered tamei muchlat. Whether you touch inside or outside your tummy, whether this or that home, whether it's a musk or a muchlat, if one actually enters the home, he becomes tamei. Now, if you tell me that anything which is slated for destruction is considered kimichsas, it's like chopped up, broken up into smithereens, and is no longer considered a functioning entity. Okay, but in this case it's a house that's no longer a house. So how are you telling me? Pasuk says if one enters a home, a functioning home, it becomes tamei. This is just building material, broken into shreds. But lucky you don't have it. So why are you telling me? Shani Yasa, no, it's different. Dama krova nitat abayis. Even after it has been relegated to destruction, it has a negla muchlat. How does the Torah refer to this home? V'nitats, demolish what? A demolished home? No, as abayis. Afilu b'shas natitza. As you're crushing it, the Torah calls it a bayis, kari bayis. The Torah gives it chashivas, a short-lived identity. As you're doing the mitzvah, consider it a home for this. The Torah still considers it a home with respect to doing the mitzvah of natitza. So that's different. But when it comes to a beged, which has a nega, perhaps in that case we can't apply this concept, and perhaps we consider it to be a non-functioning, non-existing entity. Tashma, here comes a kasha, even on a beged. We find that it is considered a functioning entity. Matlis sheish bo shalosh al shalosh. You have a patch, some cloth material, which has a nega, which is 3 by 3 finger widths in width, which is the minimum shear for a beged to be tamei, because it can be used as a patch on a poor person's beged. So once it has that dimension, afal pi she'ein bo kazayis, even though it's made of very thin material, it's a very thin threading. So this entire patch doesn't even have the volume of a kazayis, which is typically the shear for being matame, let's say basar ames, etc. Here you don't need a kazayis because it's tamei on account of it being a beged. It's a beged tamei. So kiva shenichnas ruba labayis tar. This 3 by 3 piece of cloth, which is put into a bayis tar, a bayis which is tar, even if most of the patch has entered the home, you say rubai kikula, we treat it as though the entire patch entered, because it's like one entity, it's one patch. Most of it is considered like the entire thing is in there. Tim also. This results in the house becoming tamei. The beged transmits tumah to the home. My love muchletis. Apparently we're speaking even about a beged which is tamei muchlet. It's been relegated to for the struggle. It's a regular nega muchlet slated for streif, and still, what does the Brisa maintain? It tells us that the roiv of that beged is considered kikul. Now, if something which is meant for sreifa, meant for burning, is considered broken up and chopped up, it no longer serves together as one. It's no longer viewed as one functioning entity with a certain shear, a certain dimension. Again, what does shiur mean? Think about it. What does shiur mean? You have one entity which comprises a certain amount of a volume. whether it's size, whether it's weight, that is shiur. You have one entity with a certain prominence to it, a certain size, certain shape, it functions in a certain capacity due to its shear, due to its shear, which gives it capability, right? So now you have a patch, a piece of cloth, which has a nega, which is going to be burnt. It's like a bunch of threads. It's not a functioning entity. So if most of it goes into the house, you don't have the whole thing. Raiv kikoil, rubi kikuloi, is you have one entity. You say most of it, okay. It's as if the whole thing, it's as if the whole rest is dragged in. The minority follows the majority because it's one single entity, one functioning entity. But in this case, they don't relate to each other like separate threads, totally detached and unconnected. Loy musgeres. No, we're not speaking about a nega muchlat, which is slated for burning. Rather, we're speaking about a beged, which has a nega, but it's only musker, it's pending, and therefore it wouldn't have this problem. If that's the case, amos safe. Let's move on to the next part of the bris. So he has this matlas, this patch, which is actually very thick. It has very thick weave, very thick material. So in this 3x3 piece of cloth, you have enough volume which equals many kazesim, right? So what happens there? Even if only a small sliver of that material, an amount which equals the volume of a kazais, enters a home and makes it tummy. Now, this works. If this beged is tamei muchlat, then even a kazais transmits tumah, like a mace. Hainu de iska shlemes. The Torah by Miriam Hanavia, she was a mitzaras, and the pasuk there equates her to a mace. Al noti kameis, right? Moshe Rabbeinu davening to Hashem, don't treat her like a mace. Tzaras and mace are synonymous, the same type of shiur. So kazais of this beged would be metame as though it would be a kazais of mace. Eli amras musgeres. But if it's not yet an absolute nega, it's only muskar, it's awaiting, it's pending. Why is it considered like a mace? Why would a kazayas of it be metame? Oh, Ella. Rather, let's go back. Let's backtrack. We're speaking about a nega muchlat. It's an absolute nega. It's going to be burnt. Oh, now we have a kash. Why are we considering it a functioning entity if it's going to be burnt? Its shear is chopped up and broken up. You can't apply Rubik Kuloi. We don't look at it as one entity. Just as Yurav Papi does not allow us to use the shoe with a nega because of this very same reason. Answers the Gemara the same as by the home, by the bias of the nega. Shani Hasan, because by beged it says, burn the beged. Torah is referring to it as a beged, afilu b'shas streif, even when it's being burnt, kori beged, we consider it a beged. And this is an exception. What do you mean? Let's learn chalitza from there. Isur mituma like amrinan, there it's tumah. Tumah has its own guidelines. Rashi says, hilches tumah are chidushim. We can't necessarily relate to those halachas. They're based on all different types of formulas which don't necessarily parallel other types of halachas of the Torah. You can't compare it to chalitza. So true, the beged is considered a beged with respect to nega, but not with respect to chalitza. Amar Rava. So Rav Papi was quoting Rava. Rav Papa was quoting Rava. Now comes a third Rava, which was apparently the accepted version, which the Bali Gemara knew as Rava's personal shita. Hilchasa. What's the conclusion? He takes a lenient approach. Echad sandal on muskar, echad sandal on sham muchlat. Whether the sandal being used for chalitza has a pending nega or a conclusive nega, v'echad sandal shlaved iskechavim. Whether a sandal which was actually used for avodah zara, Rashi says they would put the sandal on the foot of the idol. In all these cases, don't get involved, don't use these things, but b'diavad it works. Why? Oh, because just as we find by Sreifa, by the Nega, that is considered a beggar here as well, yes, we do draw a parallel. Rashi says it's not really considered learning one from the other, it's a Gili Milsa. The Torah indicates to us that even something which is slated for Sreifa can be considered an entity, and likewise by Chalitza it can be used. Now, what about the sandal used for Avodah Zarah? So Rashi explains like this. It's not really a korban. You didn't actually use it to serve the Avodah Zarah. It wasn't offered to the Avodah Zarah as a korban, so to speak, as a gift. It was just something which served the Avodah Zarah. They put on his foot as they walk him, as they take the Avodah Zarah from place to place. So this is his shoe. So Rashi says, it isn't necessarily meant for burning. You see, by the nega, we find that the Torah considers it an entity, and therefore it can be used for chalitza. But here it's asur, it's avodah zarah, and it's also meant for burning. And if so, how could you use it for chalitza? You don't find that the Torah considers it an existing entity. Only by nega, not by avodah zarah. So he says over here, it isn't necessarily going to be burnt, because you can be mavatel. You can just sort of cancel its designation. So since it's not inevitable, Sreifa is not inevitable, it's considered a beged. And he asks another kasha, what about the fact you're not allowed to have a no from this type of thing? It's part of the Avodah Zarah. He says, guess what? Chalitza is not a no. It's a mitzvah. Mitzvah is lav lahones nitnu. Mitzvah is a mitzvah. It's not considered personal no. Okay, continues the Gemara. So that's regarding the nega, or something which is meshamash avodah zarah. But the it works. But something which was actually served, you makrav it to avodah zarah, you gifted it to avodah zarah, that is absolutely usher. It's going to be burnt. You can't be mevatel that designation, and then it doesn't have a shiur. It's not a functioning entity. It's just leather fibers sitting next to each other. It doesn't have the shiur required for chalitza. And likewise, vishel iran edachas, a shoe belonging to the city which was condemned on account of them serving avodah zarah. Also, it's meant for sreifa. It can't be used for chalitza. So, by the way, Rava, when he says don't use the other shoes, the neg and all that, why not? Chatchila don't use it because of these, because it might lead a person to use the shoes that we're mentioning now, these that are also even b'diavad. So that's why those should not be used l'chatchila. Now these are also b'diavad. What about the shalzakin also l'chavoidai? The shoe that would be used for a departed person, Rashi says, a tachrichem as a shroud. Lo yitzachlis, you shouldn't use it, and even b'diavad it doesn't work. Mchotzach l'tzasa psula doesn't work. Rashi says it's not meant to be walked with. It's not intended for as a functioning shoe. If that's the case, I have a kasha. Interesting kasha. What's wrong with the shoe used for the departed fellow? It's not meant for walking. What about the chalitza shoe that peasant stores for the chalitza that they have once in 20 years? That's not meant for walking. Who walks with the official chalitza shoe? So Rav Ashi says, no. Ilu maskebe. Shlucha de bedina. Suppose the shliach of the shamas would take a walk in that shoe. Mikapel le dayana. Would dayana be upset about it? No. So technically, it's meant as a functioning shoe, and therefore it's considered a kosher shoe. So what did we learn today? What is the definition of nal? We have a pasuk which we had yesterday. Va'an alcha tachash. Hashem says, look in the midbar. I clothed you. I gave you shoes. Tachash is an animal. By the way, the Mefarshim point out that you see there's a kasha. The Gemara in Shabbos says that tachash, which was used for the Mishkan, was there only l'shah. Was a miraculous thing which came down as per need, and then it was nignas, disappeared. So how could the pasuk say that throughout the 40 years in the Midbar, we had shoes made of leather of tachash? So in the Gilyon Ashas, I think Rabbi Yosef Engel, he writes, he says there are two types of tachash. Tachash is a species, a certain type of animal, and there was a special one that came down specially for the Mishkan, and perhaps the Gemara's mashma was an animal which was tahir animal, but the concept of tachash wasn't necessarily, just a timely thing. It's a species out there, and perhaps there's a variety which is tahir, a variety which is tameh. So an alcha tachash was taken from the general tachash species. The bottom line is, it sounds like Nal has to be leather. That's the Rabbanan's approach. It has to be something made of leather, which has a unique combination. It's soft and pliable and comfortable. It still affords protection. Rabbi says, no. As long as it has that protective feature, it doesn't have to be made of leather, even wood, etc. The Yevamos has to stomp his foot on the ground while she pulls off his foot. Flipped over foot wouldn't work. Above the knee wouldn't work as well. We got involved with the story with Yoel and Sisra. We spoke about the shoe, the chatchila, being the Yavam's own personal shoe, and the chatchila being his right shoe. Now, what about a nal that has a nega? So if it's muskar, or even muchlat, or even was used to dress the avodah zarah, the chatchila shouldn't be using it. But the Eved, according to the final version of Rava, it works. If it was a shoe that was offered to avodah zarah as a gift, as a kakrava, it would be possible even with the Eved. It's slated for streifa. Same with the Aaron Dachas. The one used for tachrichin is not meant as a functioning shoe. It can't be used. But the Bezdin shoe works because at times the shamas will take a little walk, and therefore it's considered a functioning shoe. Haslach Rabbi 2 and Suras Teves.